To this day, Steph Curry takes 500 practice shots a day. 500. That's 3,500 a week, 14,000 a month, 168,000 practice shots a year, and now it's almost 2.8 million practice shots in his career. Greatness always rises to the top. If you want to be a millionaire, whatever your business is, you have to be outstanding at it. You got to be the best in the industry. And the best is not more talented. The best does more reps, repetitions. Whatever you think is enough, it's not. You got to do more. What if you started to look at your career like you were an NBA athlete, like you were Tiger Woods, like you were an artist, like Adele, that it's your form of expression? This is why, as a leader, if you're leading people, you got to have deadlines. And you got to focus on the reps, and you got to focus on speed. The key benefits of this is it does put some pressure on people. Pressure is good. Pressure is a privilege. Remember this, the separation is in the preparation. I don't separate myself when I get on stage. I separated myself before I ever got there. You're one decision away, or one new action, one new adjustment, one new contact, one new relationship, one new thought, one new idea, one new deadline away. I believe in you so much, I see the best version of you, not the current one. Now, I love the current one, but I know there's another version, and I don't accept the one in front of me if there's one that could be better. You deserve to win. You do. And I think you're much closer than it might seem.
Are you someone who tries to drive while distracted by your phone? Someone who props it on the steering wheel, or peeks down at it for a glance, or just scrolls and scrolls? If so, you could be the next person to get into a fender bender, get a ticket, veer off the road, or even cause a crash that kills you or someone else. Enough already. Put the phone away or pay. Paid for by NHTSA.
All right, welcome back to the show, everybody. So grateful you decided to join me again here this week, and I have some special stuff for you. I've been asked a lot, what are some of the things on peak performance when you work with, elite performers? I've been blessed that over the last 30 years, I've worked with some of the top athletes in the world, CEOs, political figures, and entertainers as well. And what are some of the things that you work with them that you could teach us on the show, and also that you've learned from them through, friendships and coaching them? So I'm going to just share two this week with you because I think they're major. And even if you think you're familiar with these two topics, hang in there with me this week because I'm going to reinforce it on a much deeper level and explain to you that there's levels to this game of success and frankly of life. So the two things we're going to cover this week is repetitions, doing more repetitions, okay? And number two seems uncorrelated, but we're actually going to talk about deadlines and having deadlines in your life. It's two of the biggest things that I work on with the top performers behind the scenes that I coach. And so we're going to get into this week. Before I do it, my team keeps telling me to remind you all of this, that to get on my email list, if you go to edmylett.com, and I think it says join here, just put your email in there. I have nothing to sell you. There's not going to be a funnel you're going to fall into. I just want to be able to communicate with you regularly. And we're going to start sending out a newsletter about the shows that come out before they come out, and you'll get early access. So go to edmylett.com and submit your email there. And you'll be grateful that you did. Okay, now let's get into it. So this whole success thing, the difference between winning and losing is so small, it's almost too scary to talk about. It truly is. And the reason that people don't talk about it too much is they don't really know what it is. There's a lot of people, unfortunately, that are now in the coaching business or personal development that have really never won themselves outside of telling you how to win. And so a lot of their information, when I listen to it, or the successful people that I coach listen to, are like, what are they talking about? And so I want to give you two things that I know definitively work. And this is from my own life and from the lives of the people that I work with. And in a minute, I'm going to give you a treat. This has been such a passionate topic for me and so fresh on my mind. As I was preparing for today's show yesterday, I was doing some other recording for something else working, and this concept came up to me, and I recorded it out in my backyard looking at the ocean. And I'm going to throw to that clip in a minute. It's about 7 minutes long, because as I was doing it in the moment, you ever have that moment, you're like, hey, I'm going to do this right now because I know later it won't be as good or as fresh. And so I recorded something for all of you yesterday that's going to be a part of today's podcast. And so if you're on YouTube, it'd be cool. You'll get a chance to see a different view. There's an ocean in the background. If you're on audio, that's okay too. It's going to be still the same information that the people on YouTube are going to get. And but here we go. So number one thing is repetitions. I think most people don't really have a concept of how many practice repetitions it takes to get great at something. And in the clip I'm going to show you in a minute, you're going to understand exactly what I'm talking about, why reps matter. And there are levels to this stuff. Let me give you an example of things that would probably blow your mind. I think you all probably know who Steph Curry is. Steph is going to be a Hall of Fame, probably top 10 NBA player of all time. Some people think he's the best player of all time, but he's certainly known as the best shooter of all time in the history of the NBA. Went to Davidson College. This is not a guy that went to a big-time school. He was not heavily recruited. And even out of college, he was small, so a lot of people wasn't sure whether or not he was going to make a great NBA player. And his dad, Adele Curry, was an NBA player. And even with having that pedigree, people doubted this kid. Now he's the greatest shooter, and it's not even arguable, of all time in the history of the NBA. But why is that? Because a lot of guys in the NBA are great shooters. A lot of them have a talent for it. A lot of them practice a lot too, right? Practice and doing repetitions. You don't get to the NBA with a lot of repetitions. But even in the NBA, there are levels to this game. Listen to this. To this day, Steph Curry takes 500 practice shots a day. 500. That's 3,500 a week, 14,000 a month, 168,000 practice shots a year. And now it's almost 2.8 million practice shots in his career. Think about that just for a second. Now, wouldn't it be easy for Steph Curry to go, I already know how to shoot. I've already made a lot of shots in my life. What's the point of me doing more and more of this? It's monotonous. I'm already good at it. It's just routine. And that's what you think with your sales presentation. That's what you think with your phone calls. That's what you think about everything in your life. And too many of you have set a standard for yourself that's just as good as you already are. But Steph Curry knows that the more and more he does this reflexively, then he can operate under pressure. Then he can operate when he's fatigued. It's one thing to shoot shots. I was listening to his video of another great shooter named Ray Allen. And he said, man, I didn't just jump and shoot because in a normal game, I'm running up and down the floor. He goes, I watch a lot of guys do practice shots. They barely get their feet off the floor an inch or two. I take a full shot, jump just as high on my practice shot as I do on a game shot because I'm going to be that much higher off the ground when I shoot. So a lot of guys practice. They make their 100 practice shots, but it's not at full speed. It's not under the same amount of pressure. Steph Curry does 500 a day, and he's already the greatest. He's already made millions of shots, and he keeps doing more of it because there's levels to greatness. Just get this straight. Greatness always rises to the top. If you feel under-recognized right now, underappreciated at your job, just realize this. If you're great, they eventually find you. Success eventually finds you. If you want to be a millionaire in whatever your business is, you have to be outstanding at it. You can't be just the best person in your office or in your town. You got to be the best in the industry. And the best is not more talented. The best does more reps, repetitions. Tiger Woods was known to hit around 1,000 golf balls per day in his prime. He was obsessed with practicing. He would practice over 10 hours a day on the practice range. He would practice up to 10 hours a day. And he was already Tiger Woods. Think about this just for a second. 1,000 shots a day. He'd say 1,000 contacts a day. He was already Tiger Woods. He'd already won all these golf tournaments. He was already known as the one or two best players in the world. But there's levels to this game. That's how he dominated. See, it's one thing to win for a year or 2 years, but to dominate for a decade. Do you know that I know a lot of people that were successful in business for a year or two or three that are now broke or that used to be wealthy and not anymore? Because when they got to a decent level, they stopped refining their game. They stopped doing the reps. Listen to me, please. Most of you that even have some momentum right now, you take for granted the game. Do you know how many reps and hours I put in to do a podcast like this? I'm going to talk about it when the video comes back to me. I've done thousands of hours on camera, thousands of hours on stage, and I still practice and practice and practice because I know there's levels to this game. Let me tell you a fascinating story. About 4 years ago, I'll just tell you, Adele bought a home where I lived, and she lived kind of across the fairway at this golf course from me. And I didn't know that she had bought the house. And I woke up one night, it was like 2 o'clock in the morning, and I'm hearing all this music. It was blaring across the fairway into my backyard. And I was really upset. I'm like, I got to sleep, right? So I go into the backyard and I listen for a few minutes, and then it was not great music. It was karaoke. And I'm like, I'm not going to listen to this for the next 2 or 3 hours. I got to sleep. And so I actually got dressed and I started to drive over to her house, not knowing that it was her house yet because she had just moved in. In fact, it was her birthday. And all of a sudden the music changed, and like a voice of an angel started singing. I mean, like of an angel. And it was Adele. And I start listening to this and I stop. I go, I'm about to get a 30-minute concert from Adele in my own backyard. It was the coolest thing ever. And I just listened to this beautiful voice. And I was so glad I didn't go over and ask him to stop. And the next morning at breakfast, I saw her there. And I said, I just got to tell you something. I was almost in your backyard. She goes, well, actually, one of the other neighbors did come over. And I said, it was so great to hear your voice. And I said, I'm just curious, like, how often do you practice? Let me tell you what she told me. I wanted to make sure I wrote this down. She said, well, I'm about to do a Vegas residency soon. And me and my team will put in over 2,400 hours of reps and practice before we have the first show. And she said, I'll probably sing the average song there. I wrote it down here. At least 100 hours each, probably. She's already Adele. She's already refining her craft because she knows under pressure when the crowd's big or she's not feeling well or she's tired, she still wants to be at her best. See, most people just have a standard of, I want to get pretty good, and then on their good day, they're good. But how are you on your bad day? How are you when you're sick? How are you when you're tired? How are you when you're stressed? How are you when you've had a fight with your spouse? How are you when it's a really big appointment or an important one? And so I don't know, Tiger Woods does it, Steph Curry does it, Adele does it. You could argue these are three of the GOATs of all time in their industry, and I could keep naming people for you if you want. But hopefully that sets the stage for repetitions. Whatever you think is enough, it's not. You got to do more. And I address more in this video. I'm going to throw it to the video in my backyard I recorded yesterday because I can't do it this well again. So here we go. Listen to this.
So this week we're going to talk about two things, repetition and deadlines. And these have been two things in my career that have become benchmarks of success that are kind of secrets. I was speaking this weekend in Dallas for a friend of mine, Kent Clothier. And in the green room, there were several people in there, very complimentary that, I was their, best speaker they've seen in their life and nice things. And the guy said to me, he said, hey man, and I've watched you, I've come to this group, this particular group that I spoke to, I've spoken to them about every 3 years. He brings me in and it's a different message over the 3 years, actually completely different. 6 years ago, 3 years ago, and then this year. And he said, I just feel like you're getting better and better, which is a great compliment to hear. I just, love hearing that. I don't know if it's true or not, but I love hearing it. And I said, well, one of the things, man, is I'm crazy about getting my reps in, my repetition. One of the reasons I do speak so much is it keeps me sharp and I keep getting better. You do something enough times over and over and over again. If you're smart, you're learning from each experience. You're taking notes, what worked, what didn't, what setup didn't work, what conclusion didn't, how can I tie it down different? Maybe it's the sequencing. Maybe something I think is going to work on stage doesn't work at all. But I said, I only know this because I've done hundreds, if not thousands of reps on stage. And the reason that I still speak, people say to me often, like, why do you still travel so much and speak? I'm paid when I do it, but it's certainly not something that I need to be doing. I really do it, because it's not work to me and I feel like I'm making a difference when I do it and I'm having a sense of contribution. But the second reason is, and I talk oftentimes about this with a lot of my comedian friends, I don't want to lose my edge. I want to keep expanding and keep growing. And the more speaking I do, the better I get, as long as I'm taking lessons every time I do it. Well, this is true for you in your craft. You've got to do more reps, not only because you're going to have a higher propensity of getting more accounts, more clients, more whatever, but you're going to get better. Most people aren't doing enough reps at whatever their chosen craft is. My son asks me all the time in golf, Dad, what do you think I'm not doing that I need to? More reps, more reps, more reps. And I know people will tell you often in personal development, well, more isn't always better. Well, that's probably true to some extent in some things, but overall, more is better. And it's not just better because you're putting more out there with more chances to win, but you are getting better. And anybody that you've ever seen in your life, if you watch them over 1 year, 3 years, 5 years, they get better. You got to get great. The people that get wealthy in this world, they get great at what they do. Whatever they do, they're great. And so you got to do more reps. I want to challenge you this week. More contacts, more calls, more Zooms, more whatever it is that you do. And then from each experience, deduce what worked, what didn't, and expand and improve from it. This is really important. Like, I think many of you have seen me speak on stage, for example, and you think, man, this is like, if you think I'm decent at it, my gosh, like he just walks out there and does it. Well, I don't. I've just walked out there and done it thousands of times. And when I do it, I reflect afterwards. I have some introspection. What did I enjoy about it? What didn't I enjoy? There are things that I regularly think, oh, the crowd's going to love this one, and then they don't, or it doesn't hit, or the sequence is wrong. My stand-up friends, when you watch a stand-up special on like Netflix, for example, or, Amazon, my friends that put those specials on, whether it's Sebastian Maniscalco or Jeff Foxworthy or Nikki Glazer or Whitney Cummings or whatever, Nate Bargatze, whatever comedian you see, you understand they've been doing that routine for several years before they film the special. Oftentimes, it's usually about 2 years in between specials, and they start with new content. 2 years, they've told every one of those jokes with a different pause, a different nuance, a different setup to get it so dialed in. And these are the best in the world, and they won't record it for 2 years. Sometimes Rogan just went, I think, 4 years in between specials. And it's only for an hour of content. They want to get the reps in under different conditions, different circumstances, like small crowds, big crowds. And in your case, friendly clients, not so friendly clients, like over and over and over. Then you get great. Then it's almost automatic, and then you become more impactful. So more reps at whatever you do. The second thing is deadlines. I'm kind of a psycho about it, and not enough people have deadlines on when they want to get done. For example, many of you know I'm developing the houses on my island, and one of the mistakes I made is I did not give them a deadline on when they were going to be finished. So they're just getting done whenever they do. And not only is it taking longer than it needs to take, they're missing the rhythm of success. Successful people have a pace, an urgency, a speed to them that's unnoticed by the naked eye, but it's critical. And the only way that you find that pace is if everything has a deadline. So if you're going to make 10 contacts today, by what time? Not just 10 contacts. Don't lollygag the 10 throughout the day. By what time? If you've got a money goal for the month, by what date? If you've got a weight loss goal, by what date? What specific amount of weight? About everything I have has a deadline to it. This video that I'm recording right now, I had a deadline set for when it had to be recorded by for me, and it's moved me toward. You know what started to happen? I knew the deadline was coming. My mind started working on what I wanted to say. I started processing the information sooner. I knew it was coming, and so I've worked on this like 3 or 4 times over the last 3 or 4 days, as opposed to, I'll just wing it, let me knock out a video. So deadlines create urgency, they create the right pace, but they also trigger your subconscious mind, particularly your unconscious mind, starts to go to work on whatever it is you're going to do when a deadline's attached to it, and it doesn't do that if there's no deadline. So let's just say, for example, I had a presentation I wanted to have completed by. If I don't set a deadline to it, it does not go into the unconscious file to start working on it. But when I go, I have to have that presentation ready by Thursday at 3 p.m. This clock starts ticking in your unconscious, and now you begin to create and pull from all the resources of your unconscious and subconscious mind to start working on that presentation, even though you may not have consciously started working on it, because there's a deadline attached. The big parts of your brain go to work on something. Isn't that powerful? A lot of data tells us this lately. By simply attaching a deadline, your subconscious and unconscious mind starts to go to work on making that thing great, even though you haven't consciously worked on it. And you rob yourself from all the benefits of memory, of cadence, of pulling those files up, of references, all the power of your spirit and your being. You rob yourself of all of that simply because there's no deadline attached, because it doesn't move the file up in your subconscious mind to go to work on it. I don't exactly understand how that works, but I know that it does. You know that it does too. You ever have to get up really early in the morning beyond your normal time? You realize how hard, isn't it more difficult to sleep those nights because your mind's like, I got to get up at 4. I got to get up at 4. It's going to work on getting up, which isn't good for your sleep because there's a deadline set on it. The deadline makes you more productive, gives you the speed and urgency that you need to get something done. So now you're in the rhythm and pace of success. But that's the other part. The invisible part is your mind's going to work on making it great, even though you consciously haven't. All right, everybody, repetitions and deadline this week.
All right, so there you have it. So listen, I wanted to play that for you because I wanted you to have some understanding. And the other thing about repetitions, and then I'm going to talk about the mind, because I use some terms there, subconscious and unconscious mind, and I want to make some distinctions for you about those two things because they are slightly different in my opinion. But one thing about reps, just like for this podcast, for example, you guys, I could mail in these podcasts when I do them. And I think my producer will tell you that, most people have a producer that writes everything for them. And I write every one of these shows. All of the content you're seeing here today did not come from a producer. It came from me. I don't have somebody write my scripts. When I have someone come on the podcast, I do have a producer do a cursory review. But I try my best every time to put 2 to 3 hours into every single podcast, sometimes 5 and 7 hours when I'm interviewing somebody. I'll watch other interviews of theirs. I'll read the book if I have the time to do it. I've been a guest on hundreds of podcasts, and it's blown me away over the years, the discrepancy in preparation level. And so I think when you see somebody do something, whether they're speaking on stage or they're great at sales or they close well, they're persuasive, or a podcast like this, you think, well, they're probably pretty natural at it. Well, yeah, there's 3 stages of progress in life. I've covered this on a podcast a long time ago, but the 3 stages are the awkward stage. Awkward is where you just new at something and you're terrible at it, right? You're just not any good at it because you're new at it. And when you do enough repetitions, you move from awkward to what I call mechanical. And it's kind of where you kind of know the words, you know the structure, it's pretty darn good, but it's still kind of, hit and miss. It looks a little machinist. It looks a little rehearsed. It doesn't seem, what is step 3? The natural stage. And the natural stage is it just looks like these people were born to do it. It's easy for them. They roll out of bed and it's a cakewalk. And then there's levels to natural. See, a great high school shooter looks pretty natural when you go to high school. And you go, well, that kid's the best kid. Then when you go to Division I college, that's the best kid. And then when you go to the NBA, they can all have a natural shot. And then there's Steph Curry. And I know from golf, having a son who's a professional golfer, you go to an average golf tournament, you can find the 2 or 3 kids who look a little bit awkward. Or maybe they have a mechanical golf swing. And then there's the 2 or 3 that are natural. And you go, that's a natural. Well, no, you just got more reps and more productive reps, more correct reps. And then even from there, then there's Tiger Woods. And that's a whole different level from the best of all time. And so these reps matter. I just want to challenge you to be doing more of it. By the way, it makes you more comfortable. It takes away your nervousness. You operate well under pressure. So it's no secret I travel a lot. And you know what I just did? I just treated myself. I treated myself by upgrading all of my travel stuff, by my suitcases, the carry bag that I've got. And for a lot of you, vacation season's coming up as well. So you know what? Maybe it's time you get some good vacation plans in place and treat yourself well for a first-class quality suitcase at an economy price tag from Quince. I just did it. I love it. So this year, I treated myself to some luxe upgrades. They got lightweight shirts and shorts from $30, pants for every occasion, lounge sets, and premium luggage options that are durable, from duffel bags to big carry-ons. So the best part, all Quince items are priced at 50 to 80% less than similar brands. For your next trip, treat yourself to the luxe upgrades you deserve from Quince. Go to quince.com/ed for 365 returns plus free shipping on your order. That's QUINCE.com/ed to get free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/ed. We always operate reflexively to our habits under pressure. And if you haven't practiced, what's incredible to me is that people just lose the stomach for it. And here's why. It's boring. It's monotonous. Unless you're trying to learn. When I get off stage, you guys, anytime you've seen me speak, one thing that you wouldn't see is I immediately go through, it's borderline self-loathing. I've had other speakers, even pastors and I discuss this, but like when I get off the stage, my mind immediately goes into, what could I have done better? What worked? What didn't work? What did I forget to say? How did I miss that moment? Man, I talked right over the applause, or I hesitated there. And I go into this mode where most speakers, just so you know, when they walk off stage, if you wonder what they're actually doing, they're asking the AV people, did I do okay? When they go back to the green room, did I do all right? When a singer walks off stage and they seem so confident they killed it, was I okay tonight? They immediately become insecure. My stand-up comedian friends, almost every single one of them, when they're done, bro, I messed the 3rd joke up. Can you believe it? Man, was it all right? Did they catch it? So everyone looks confident up there. And right when they get back, the great ones are in self-reflection. They're in awareness. They audit the performance. They learn from it. They get better. I'm so addicted to that I've been speaking on stage for 30 years. I've been fortunate that I've been picked the #1 speaker in the world now 3 of the last 4 years. And that's all a matter of opinion. It's nice to be acknowledged for it, but I certainly don't feel like it. If you knew how much beating of myself up I do. When every podcast is done, the first thing I say to my producer is, was that okay? And he's nodding and laughing right now, I guarantee you, right? Because it's the first thing I say. And then I'll go through for hours afterwards in my mind what I could have done better, how I should have said this. Oh my gosh, I hesitated there. You think, is it that important? Yeah, because it's my craft. It's my form of expression. I think if you started to look at your career, whether you're a custodian, a janitor, a flight attendant, an entrepreneur, a school teacher, a police officer, you play the piano, whatever it is, what if you started to look at your career like you were an NBA athlete, like you were Tiger Woods, like you were an artist like Adele, that it's your form of expression? Steph Curry's form of expression is basketball. Tiger Woods' way of expressing his genius and his greatness was in his golf. Adele's greatness and genius is through her music. Well, in my way, it's my speaking. It's my content. It's my work. Have you ever been on a flight with like an exceptional flight attendant? Like an exceptional one. They bring a joy, an effort, a professionalism, an attention to detail, a standard that's meticulous, and you notice it. I always tell them. Or a server in a restaurant. You've had hundreds of servers, haven't you? Then there's those 2 or 3 special ones. Have you ever had anybody do any work on your home? You know, a lot of people do work on your home, and then there's the one, and they just take pride in it, and they're good at it. And they've got this mix of confidence and humility. They're confident they're really good, but humility that they want to get better. That's the nuance of success. And I don't want you to miss this. You've got to be great. Don't let everybody out there tell you you're awesome as you are. Would you say that to your kids if they were bringing home D's and they could get A's? You would never say that to them. And by the way, you don't even believe it anyway, because you know you were born to do something great. I look at you, I look at my friends like, I believe in you so much. I see the best version of you, not the current one. Now, I love the current one, but I know there's another version. And I don't accept the one in front of me if there's one that could be better. I don't accept an 8 out of 10 speech for me if a 10 was my capacity. That's the point. I guarantee you those 1,000 shots that Tiger Woods hit were with focus, were with reflection, were with adjustments afterwards. That's what makes it worth it. Every shot's different that Steph Curry takes. Every note's different for Adele. Every time she's learning more about her voice and her nuances. She's also told me that sometimes when she's singing a particular song, lyrics for another one come to her. So, why is that? Well, now we're going to talk about something that I covered in the video there. What is the difference, by the way? Because it's conflated stuff, and there's even a debate that they even exist, by the way, the subconscious and unconscious mind. But is there a difference? Because Freud actually, for a long time, Freud thought they were the same thing. And then he kind of evolved his thinking. And to me, there's a little bit of a difference between the subconscious and the unconscious. We know what the conscious mind is. We all know what that is. But the subconscious, when we talk about the idea of deadlines now as we shift into that concept, what the subconscious does is it has automatic actions like breathing and heart rate. It does that for you. It regulates your daily life. It can be identified when you're introspective. It stores memories, beliefs, and experiences. It can be identified through introspection, as I've said, but it can also protect you from sensory overload. It's almost like the subconscious mind is almost like an operating system running in the background. And when you have a deadline you set on something, which was part 2, it enrolls a part of your mind that's not enrolled when there's no deadline. And that's why, like I said, when you got to get up early in the morning, or even right now, if you have something major coming up, or you have before, like you have a due date and you're pregnant, what it does is it starts to cause you to flash forward to that day and the aftermath and the preparation for it. Getting the room ready for the baby, having a stroller in place. You start to do things when there's a deadline or a due date. If you've got a big presentation coming up in the next few weeks, your mind thinks about it and starts to work on it, doesn't it? Or you got a party you're planning, or you ever have before. Your mind's working on it even when you're not. That's what the subconscious mind does. And you only enroll that part of your brain when you put a deadline on something. That's why repetitions and deadlines matter. The unconscious mind includes thoughts, memories, desires that aren't consciously known. And when you set a deadline for something, you begin to pull from thoughts that you don't have consciously, memories of previous successes or failures that serve you in the new one with the new deadline, and new dreams and desires that could be somehow correlated as a vertical or something connected to this thing you've got that a deadline's on. You can also have socially unacceptable ideas, wishes, and desires that are just there in your unconscious. Your unconscious also has traumatic memories and painful emotions. The unconscious mind has automatic responses and reflexes like breathing and digestion in it. And it's not something you can just summon on cue, but when you put a deadline to it, you can. The reason that this matters is your brain is constantly trying to conserve energy. So when you come up with a goal or an idea or a to-do list of things you need to do, your brain immediately does not want you to put a deadline on it, because then if you put a deadline on it, it can't save energy. It's constantly trying to get you to avoid deadlines. I'll get around to it. It doesn't matter. As long as I get all 10 done today, who cares by when? It doesn't matter if I do my homework, as long as, I get it done. But when you put a deadline, your brain tries to resist it because your brain's like, now I can't hide from you. And then you flipped on your subconscious and unconscious mind, and now it's taking energy. That brain of yours is constantly trying to avoid you and to get you to avoid deadlines because it doesn't want to enroll the part of the mind that then requires energy from it. It's an energy saver. It's so lazy, it's crazy. And so that's why there's such massive power to deadlines beyond you'll hurry up, beyond the pace that I said, the rhythm and pace of success. Beyond that, you've enrolled and enlisted a part of your brain that isn't enrolled if there's no deadline attached to it. Does that make sense to everybody? Every day when we're on the road, people around us endanger themselves and others by using their phones while driving. They think they're hiding it, but we've all seen them and we know exactly who they are. For instance, there's the sneak-a-peeker who darts their eyes between the road and their texts. There's also the I got a ticketer looking upset because they just got a ticket for using their phone while driving. And what about the fast scroller who can't drive 5 minutes without updating their social feeds? Or the night lighter who has that mysterious glow illuminating in the inside of their car after dark. We've all seen them. Does sound familiar, doesn't it? If they remind you of yourself or someone you know, rethink your behavior before you find yourself becoming the fender benderer, the veering off the roader, or worst of all, the driver who killed someone. Put the phone away or pay. Paid for by NHTSA. And so if that does make sense to you, here's the key benefits of some deadlines, okay? Number one, the pressure of an approaching deadline can push you to work harder and faster to achieve the goal. By the way, what's great about that is then you've knocked that out. You can be on to the next thing. I think when I said earlier, there's levels to this thing with the repetition, there's also levels to the pace. They're just levels of the pace. There is typically an impatience to most successful people. And I know patience is a virtue, and I'd even in my life like to have more of it, but I have to be really candid with you. The standard for speed with the ultra successful is different than the other people that don't win. It's invisible. You probably wouldn't know it, but when you're around them, they even seem a little pushy. Some people would call them demanding. And this is why, as a leader, if you're leading people, you got to have deadlines and you got to focus on the reps and you got to focus on speed. The key benefits of this is it does put some pressure on people. Pressure is good. Pressure is a privilege. Remember this. The separation is in the preparation. I don't separate myself when I get on stage. I separated myself before I ever got there. I don't separate myself doing a podcast like this. I separate myself before I ever got there. Tiger Woods didn't separate himself necessarily on the golf course. It was before he got there. Adele doesn't separate herself on stage. It's before she gets there. Steph Curry, before he takes the court. For you, it's the before. And this is the stuff that you'll never see on Instagram. It's not sexy. It's not beautiful. It's what you do when nobody's watching that matters the most, not when they are watching. If you do the right things when nobody is watching, you will shine when everybody is watching. That's the irony. Deadlines help with prioritization, getting things in sequence. Sometimes stuff needs to move in front of other things sequentially. And when you have a deadline, it puts in priority the sequence of things. It can help people identify the most important tasks. In your company, you don't have enough deadlines. I'm not talking about month long. I'm talking about hours long. Hey, 10 contacts by noon. 5 of these by then, 3 Zooms by this, right? Like deadlines. I know this isn't like glamorous and it's not the same as when I'm talking about breathing or walking on the beach. You know, people love those. But when it comes to the work in life, most people start to, this is low vibration, man. I don't know if I want to know all this. But yet you want to be a millionaire, yet you want to win. Do you want me to talk to you as a friend? Do you want me to give you the real stuff? Because you can just come to my content every week and I can just make you feel good. And I do that a lot because I think life is about that. But then there's times where we have to look at each other, friend to friend here, mentor to mentee, and say, hey, let's go. Let's get this together, man. There's another level, my friend. Sister, you know there's another level. You can feel it. Improved planning happens when you set deadlines. Deadlines force individuals to think through steps they need to complete in a task and use their time effectively. Deadlines create accountability, both for who you are working with and for yourself. When a deadline is set, people are held accountable for meeting their commitments, and this shifts a company. When you want to shift the energy of your church, your Boy Scout troop, your Girl Scout troop, the Scouts, whatever they're called now, a business, a family, you put deadlines on things, right? Hey, we're going to take a family vacation this summer. Hey, Mom, Dad, when's it going to be planned by? Where are we going? What are the dates? It also facilitates collaboration. Deadlines can help teams stay aligned and work together towards a common goal. It also does something that I call early issue identification. By setting deadlines, potential issues, challenges, and problems get identified sooner in the process, which allows you to make adjustments that don't happen when there's no deadline. Then you get caught last minute. Oh my gosh, this happened. Oh my gosh, that. I'll give you an example. Today, I was supposed to do another podcast with a guest today. They were going to be in their home. There's an issue with their roof, and they can't do it because of the noise going on. But because I have deadlines on how many shows I have to get in by when, we're okay with that. But can you imagine if there was no deadline and that podcast I needed to be released next week to 10 million people like we do every week, and there was no deadline on the other ones, then this problem comes up, we'd be in big trouble. But right now we're good because we've identified the potential problem well in advance, rescheduled it. That's because there was a deadline. And so this is because it forces the brain, as I've said, to use energy immediately. So your brain's going to resist this stuff. So you got to resist all of it. So listen to me. Last thing I'll tell you. You deserve to win. You do. And I think you're much closer than it might seem. For most of you, it's not a major overhaul in your life or your approach to your business or your life that's required. It's a simple, small, fine-tuning, like a little carburetor adjustment on an old car. See, the world would convince you you're either on it all the way or you're miles away. I don't think you're miles away. In fact, I know you're not. You wouldn't be listening to me today or watching me today if you were miles off. You're not miles off. That's the enemy trying to get you to believe that. The truth is, and I've said this many times in my book, The Power of One More, which is sitting right here. Now it's up straight. You're one decision away, or one new action, one new adjustment, one new contact, one new relationship, one new thought, one new idea, one new deadline away. You know what happens when you shoot all those reps, all those shots? When you're in a slump, you find the adjustment. You go, oh, my elbow was too far out. I got it. Because not only are you doing the reps, you're evaluating it and making adjustments as you go. You're much closer than you think. Trust me. I know it seems miles away. I know it seems like it's never going to happen for someone like you. Let me let you know something on the inside. I thought the same thing about my life. Most of the people you admire went through that same self-doubt, went through that same idea of, man, this is not me. This happens to other people. I keep doing this and it's not happening. I'm telling you that if you'll begin to do the two things we talked about today, it may be for you the one thing you need to change. And what I'm going to do every single week on this show is I'm going to keep bringing you ideas that work, strategies that work, inspiration that moves you every single week on the show. And the reason that I do it, I have to oftentimes reflect on. And the reason that I do it is I so deeply believe the world needs you. I don't believe the world is going to change because of a political movement. I believe the world changes from a grassroots revolution of good people making a difference in other people's lives in their core genius way. If that's a great flight attendant, a great astronaut, a great scientist, a great doctor, a great teacher, a great salesperson, a great mom, a great business leader, a great singer. I just believe the world's better when people are at the highest expression of themselves and expanding all the time in their life. Big believer in you, my brother or sister. Big believer in you. If today helped you, set a deadline of the next 2 minutes to share this episode with somebody. And maybe you need to listen to or watch it twice. That would be the repetitions that might serve you. God bless you. Max out.